I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. It all started about 2 years ago when Emily and I decided to renovate our master bathroom. We poured our hearts and a significant chunk of our savings into that space. It was going to be our sanctuary, a place to unwind after long days. But fast forward to now, and that beautifully remodeled bathroom has become a symbol of betrayal for me. When I first noticed the signs that something was off, I tried to chalk it up to stress. Emily had started a CrossFit routine that consumed her time. She was always exhausted, but the kind of tired that came with an intense workout regime. She'd come home late, always citing extra sessions or working out with friends. I didn't think much of it at first. I wanted to support her, encourage her, but slowly I began to notice subtle changes. She was distant, often lost in her own world, and her phone, well, let's just say it had become a fortress. She kept it face down and didn't allow me to touch it. The first time I poked fun at her new obsession, she shot me a glare that sent chills down my spine. It was just a joke, but her reaction said it all. I brushed it aside, trying to reassure myself that I was simply being paranoid. The real turning point came one Saturday morning. I had planned to surprise her with breakfast in bed, something sweet to lift her spirits. I walked into our bathroom, now the very picture of luxury, and noticed something strange. The shower was still running. I could hear the water hitting the tiles, but she wasn't in there. I called out her name, no response, so I peeked inside, and that's when I saw it. There were faint traces of lipstick on the counter, a color I knew she didn't own. My heart raced. I wanted to dismiss it as someone else, but deep down I knew something was wrong. As I turned to leave, I heard laughter coming from the other side of the bathroom wall. It was muffled, but unmistakably a man's voice. My stomach dropped. At that moment, I felt like a complete fool. My stomach twisted in knots as I replayed all the signs in my mind. It was all there, the late nights, the excuses. It hit me like a freight train. She was cheating on me, and I was standing in a bathroom we had built together, a place where she had likely betrayed me with her CrossFit instructor. Rage coursed through me. Who the hell did she think she was? I burst into the living room, confronting her as she walked in, dressed in her workout clothes, looking like the picture of health. The juxtaposition of her facade and my reality felt like a punch to the gut. Where were you? I demanded, my voice trembling with a mix of fury and disbelief. I told you at the gym. She replied, her tone icy, but her eyes betrayed her. I could see the flicker of guilt. Oh really, the gym? Because it sounds to me like that might be a code for something else, I retorted. Her facade crumbled as I laid out the evidence, the lipstick, the laughter, the late nights. She tried to deny it at first, her typical bitchy attitude coming out in full force. You're being ridiculous. You're just jealous because I'm in shape and you're not. It was as if she was trying to flip the narrative, make me feel small for caring about our relationship, but I wasn't going to let her twist this around on me. I called her out on every lie, every excuse she had made over the past months. The emotional impact hit me hard. I felt like a stranger in my own home, my sanctuary turned prison by her betrayal. I went from shock to anger in mere minutes. I wanted to scream, to cry, to thrash out, but instead I stood there frozen, fighting against a tidal wave of betrayal that threatened to engulf me. As she finally admitted to the affair, her voice barely a whisper, the weight of her words pressed down on me. I didn't know how to respond. I felt a sickening mix of anger and heartbreak. I could barely comprehend what I had just heard. In that moment, every memory we had shared felt tainted. All those sweet times, our laughter, our plans for the future, they all felt ridiculous now. I had built my life around her, and in that room it all crumbled. It was as if the walls were closing in on me, suffocating me with their silent witness to my despair. I was left alone with my thoughts, the once vibrant pictures of our life together now overshadowed by the stark reality of her betrayal. I had to decide what came next. Would I try to salvage this mess, or would I take the plunge into a new chapter of my life? What I did know was that I didn't want to remain a victim. I wanted to rebuild, not just my faith in love, but in myself. As I contemplated my next steps, a flicker of a plan began to take shape in my mind. I just needed to get through the next few hours, then I'd figure it out. Reflecting on that moment now, I realize it was a turning point. It forced me to confront everything I thought I knew about love and trust. I knew I had to make my move, but first I had to regain my strength. I had to rebuild myself. And that's when I decided to transform our bathroom, our sanctuary, into my own personal gym. I was going to take back control. I was determined to erase their betrayal with every rep, every drop of sweat. This was just the beginning. After the confrontation, I felt like I had been thrust into a nightmare, but I wasn't ready to accept defeat. Emily's betrayal was still fresh, the sting of her admission echoing in my mind. The thought of her and that CrossFit instructor together in our newly renovated bathroom made bile rise in my throat. I needed a plan, a way to reclaim my life. The first step was to clear out the old clutter. I spent hours in that bathroom, tearing down every decorative piece that reminded me of what had been. The fluffy rugs we had chosen together, the candles that now felt like mocking ghosts, even the fancy soap dispenser, everything went. I filled up box after box, throwing away remnants of a life that felt too tainted to keep. With every item I removed, I transformed the space into a gym. I ordered weights online, set up my old treadmill, and bought a heavy bag to hang from the ceiling. I invested in a pull-up bar, resistance bands, and a yoga mat. Slowly, I began to change the atmosphere of that room. The bright colors of the walls, which once felt cozy and intimate, now became a backdrop for my transformation. I painted them a deep, calming blue. Every morning I woke up early and hit the gym hard. I worked out relentlessly, pouring my anger and hurt into every rep. I took pride in pushing myself beyond my limits. With each drop of sweat that dripped from my brow, I could feel the weight of her betrayal lifting, if only slightly. The more I focused on my physical strength, the more I began to reclaim pieces of my self-worth that Emily had chipped away. At night, instead of wallowing in the memories of our life together, I worked out until I was exhausted. I found a new sense of clarity through the pain of every push-up, squat, and lift. I listened to podcasts about resilience and self-improvement, absorbing the wisdom of others who had faced their own betrayals. It was cathartic. I was rebuilding myself from the inside out, brick by brick, rep by rep. But Emily was still around. She acted as if nothing had changed, a false sense of normalcy hanging in the air. I could see the guilt etched on her face whenever she caught me working out. She would attempt to engage me with stories about her day or ask about my workouts, but I kept my responses short and cold. I wasn't ready to forgive her, and I wasn't going to let her guilt trip me into feeling sorry for her either. One evening, as I was wiping down the weights, she approached me, her expression a mixture of anxiety and annoyance. "You're really serious about this gym thing, huh?" she said, her tone dripping with condescension. I met her gaze, my heart racing. "Yeah, I am. I need to focus on myself now." Her eyes narrowed, and I could see the gears turning in her mind. "You know, you could share this with me. We could work out together again," she suggested, a hint of desperation in her voice. It was infuriating. Did she really think I would allow her back into my life so easily? "I don't think so, Emily. You've made your choices clear." The confrontation hung in the air like a thick fog. I saw the annoyance flicker in her eyes, replaced by something else, fear perhaps. I was no longer the husband she could manipulate with her wit or her charm. I had changed, and she didn't know how to respond. Days turned into weeks, and I continued my workouts, losing weight and gaining muscle. I reveled in the changes I was seeing in myself, both physically and mentally. I began to develop a routine that felt empowering. I started to eat healthier, preparing meals that fueled my workouts instead of sabotaging them. I felt powerful, alive, and finally, I was beginning to feel like myself again. But Emily wasn't giving up that easily. She tried to entice me into conversations about our past, reminiscing about vacations, anniversaries, and special moments. I played along occasionally, but the warmth in my heart had faded, replaced by a cold realization that I couldn't simply forget what had happened. One night, after a particularly intense workout, I received a text from her while I was stretching. "I miss you. I want to talk. Can you please just listen?" The message was simple, but it sent shockwaves through my body. I stared at the screen, conflicted. Part of me wanted to hear the apology I was sure was coming. The other part of me screamed for her to leave me alone. I took a deep breath, reminding myself of how far I had come. I didn't need her validation anymore. I decided to respond. I'll listen, but I can't promise I'll forgive you. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. The following day, she set up a time for us to talk. I was nervous, unsure of how I would feel seeing her again without the veil of anger. But I had made my decision. I wouldn't allow her to break me again. As I sat there, waiting for her to arrive, I felt the weight on my shoulders lift a little more. I'd taken control of my life, my health, and my future. I was ready to hear what she had to say, but I wouldn't let her manipulate my feelings or make me question my worth. I had transformed both the bathroom and my mindset, and I was ready to face the truth head-on. The moment she walked through the door, I could see it in her eyes. She was scared and regretful. But as I took a deep breath, I was grateful for the strength I had built. I was ready to listen, but I was equally ready to stand my ground. I had come too far to turn back now. As Emily stepped into the makeshift gym, the atmosphere felt charged. The air was thick with unspoken words, and I could tell she was nervous. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, trying to project an air of calm while my heart raced. I had no idea what she wanted to say, but I wasn't ready to let my guard down just yet. "Thanks for agreeing to talk," she said, her voice softer than I had heard in weeks. She rubbed her hands together, a nervous habit I recognized well. I've had a lot of time to think about everything. I remained silent, letting the pause linger. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to understand the hurt she had caused. I was done being the sympathetic husband who offered his heart on a platter. She took a deep breath, her eyes darting around the room before settling back on me. "I know I messed up. I've been a terrible wife," she began, her voice wavering. "I've been selfish, and I can't believe I threw away what we had for him." The way she said him made my stomach churn. It was bitter to hear her acknowledge the affair, but part of me wanted to hear her fully own it, to take responsibility for the pain she had caused. "I don't want to make excuses for what I did," she continued, her tone growing more earnest. "CrossFit became this escape for me, a way to feel strong and empowered. But instead, it led me to make the worst decision of my life." I raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "And I was just supposed to sit back and accept that, right? While you got cozy in the shower with your instructor." Her face fell at my words, and I could see the guilt wash over her. "No, I know that's not fair. I get it now. I was stupid. I thought I was gaining something in my life, but I ended up losing the most important thing, the love we built together." "Love?" I scoffed, unable to contain my frustration. "You don't know what love is if you can do something like this. You made a choice to betray me. That doesn't scream love." She flinched at my words, and for a moment I felt a pang of regret, but I quickly steeled myself. I couldn't allow sympathy to weaken my resolve. I had worked too hard to reclaim my strength. "I've started going to therapy," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "I wanted to figure out what went wrong. I didn't want to lose you. I was lost, and I didn't know how to ask for help. I thought I could find it in someone else, but I was wrong." "Why should I believe anything you say?" I challenged, my voice steady. "You lied to me for months, and while I was here building a life with you, you were sneaking around behind my back. How do you expect me to forget that?" "I don't want you to forget," she replied quickly, desperation creeping into her tone. "I want to earn your trust back. I know it's going to take a long time, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I miss you, the real you, and I miss us." Her words hit me hard, reverberating in my chest. Part of me wanted to believe her, wanted to think there was a chance we could work through this. But another part screamed at me to remember the pain she had caused, to remember who I was before all of this started, a loyal husband who would do anything for his wife. "I need time," I finally said, my voice quiet but firm. "I can't just jump back into this. You hurt me deeply. I'm not saying I'm ready to give up on us, but I can't just forgive and forget. You need to understand that." "I understand," she replied, tears pooling in her eyes. "Whatever you need, I'll be here. I just want a chance to show you that I can change." That was the moment everything shifted for me. I realized I had a choice to make. I could either wallow in this pain and allow her to manipulate my feelings, or I could take control of my own narrative. As much as it pained me, I knew that this wasn't just about Emily. This was about me, my healing, my strength, and my future. "Let be clear," I said, feeling empowered. "If we're going to move forward, it's going to be on my terms. No more lies, no more excuses. If you want to Be with me, you need to prove it every day. You need to earn back my trust, and I need you to understand the gravity of your actions." She nodded slowly, her expression serious. "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes. Just please don't give up on me." I looked at her, searching for any hint of sincerity behind her tears. There was pain in her eyes, but I knew better than to let that sway me too easily. I had to protect my heart while still giving her the chance to show she could change. With that decision made, I realized the path before me was going to be difficult. It wasn't just about Emily's journey, it was about my own journey of rediscovery. I had transformed my body, but now I needed to transform my heart, my emotions, my perspective on love and trust. As she left that evening, I felt a mix of hope and apprehension. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, I felt a flicker of control over my life. I wasn't just a victim of her betrayal. I was a man ready to rebuild not only our relationship but myself as well. With that thought lingering in my mind, I hit the gym once more, ready to sweat out the tension and uncertainty coursing through me. I was determined to embrace the journey, no matter how hard it might be. Each rep, each drop of sweat was a step toward healing, a step toward reclaiming my life after her betrayal. I was committed to finding my strength, regardless of what lay ahead. As the days turned into weeks, I settled into a new rhythm. I stayed committed to my workouts, and the physical transformation was undeniable. I felt stronger both in body and mind. But Emily's presence weighed heavily on me. She tried to be supportive, often suggesting workout routines or healthy recipes, but I kept her at arm's length. I was still processing the betrayal, and I wasn't ready to open the door to vulnerability again. Emily's attempts at reconciliation were genuine, or at least I wanted to believe they were. She started coming home with flowers and little notes, reminders of the affection we had once shared. While there was a part of me that appreciated the effort, another part felt resentful. Every flower felt like a reminder of what she had taken from me, an attempt to patch up a deep wound that still throbbed. One evening, after a particularly grueling workout, I sat down with a protein shake and scrolled through my phone. I stumbled across a post from my old college friend Jake. He was in town and wanted to catch up. Our friendship had faded over the years, but I always remembered him as the kind of guy who could make me laugh through anything. I quickly texted him back, suggesting we meet up for drinks. When I told Emily about my plans, her expression shifted. "You're going out with Jake?" she asked, her tone light but a slight edge flickering in her eyes. "I didn't think you want to socialize right now." I shrugged, trying not to let her reaction bother me. "I'll be fine. I need to reconnect with friends, especially right now." Her smile faltered, and I could see the apprehension in her gaze. "Just be careful, okay? I mean, you never know what can happen when you're out." What she said stung. It felt like she was projecting her guilt onto me, as if I would betray her in the same way she had betrayed me. "I'll be careful, Emily, but I think you need to trust me." After a long pause, she nodded, though I could see the tension in her shoulders. "Of course. I just want you to be happy." That night, as I met up with Jake, I began to feel lighter. We grabbed a couple of beers at a local bar, and as we reminisced about our college days, I felt a sense of normalcy return. Jake was a natural storyteller, and I laughed until my sides hurt, remembering the absurd things we had done together. "Man, it's good to see you," he said, raising his glass. "You look different, stronger. What's your secret?" I hesitated, unsure if I wanted to share the truth. "Just getting back in shape, I guess. Life's thrown a few curveballs lately." Jake nodded, sensing the seriousness in my tone. "You know, I get it. I went through a tough breakup last year and it was rough. But once I started focusing on myself, things turned around. You'll get through this. Just keep pushing yourself." His words resonated deeply. Here I was, focused on rebuilding myself physically, yet emotionally I was still struggling. I couldn't keep avoiding the hurt and anger I felt. After a few hours of catching up, I eventually headed home, feeling a little tipsy but mostly content. Walking through the door, I was met with a quiet house. Emily was already asleep, but the sight of her calmed me. In that moment, I realized I had to confront my own feelings instead of burying them. The next morning, I woke up early for my workout. I pushed myself harder than usual, channeling the angst I felt about Emily and the uncertainty that loomed over us. I focused on every rep, visualizing my pain turning into strength. After my shower, I decided it was time to have another conversation with Emily. I needed to be honest about where I stood. She was awake when I walked into the kitchen, her hair tousled and eyes still heavy with sleep. "Morning," I said, trying to keep my tone light. "Morning," she replied, glancing up from her coffee. "How was your night out?" "It was good, just needed to get out, you know." She nodded but looked down at her cup as if processing something. "I'm glad. It's important to reconnect with friends." I took a deep breath, deciding now was the time to broach the subject. "Emily, can we talk about us, where we're heading?" Her expression shifted and she sat up straighter. "Sure, what's on your mind?" "I want to be honest. I'm still really hurt by what happened. I'm trying to move forward, but I need you to understand that it's not easy for me. I'm not going to jump back into things just because you want me to. I need time." She leaned forward, her eyes earnest. "I get that, I do. I'm willing to wait. I want to show you that I can be better, but I also understand that it's going to take time." "I appreciate that," I said, feeling a mix of gratitude and frustration. "But I also need you to do your part. I need to see you taking action, not just saying the words. I can't keep doing this if it's one-sided." "I'm trying," she insisted, her voice trembling. "I've changed. I'm in therapy. I'm working on myself. I just need you to believe in me and give me a chance." It was the first time I saw a glimpse of vulnerability from her, and it stirred something inside me. I wanted to believe her, but I couldn't shake the doubts that lingered. "Action speaks louder than words, Emily. I need to see you putting in the effort to rebuild what we had, and it needs to be consistent." "I promise I'll show you," she replied, her voice cracking. "I just need you to trust me." We sat in silence, the weight of our conversation hanging in the air. I felt like we were at a crossroads. This wasn't just about her making amends. It was about me learning to trust again, to open my heart to the possibility of healing. "I'll try to trust you," I finally said, my voice firm. "But I need time to process everything. I want us to work, but we both have to commit to this. It can't be just me." "Agreed. I'll show you," she said, determination in her gaze. That day, as I hit the gym, I felt a renewed sense purpose. I was no longer just working out to erase her betrayal. I was working out to reclaim my life, to regain control. I realized that while the journey ahead would be challenging, it was one I was willing to take. I had transformed the bathroom into my personal sanctuary, where I could channel my pain into strength. But it was also a space for reflection, for growth. With every rep, I was not just rebuilding my body. I was also learning how to navigate the complexities of love and trust. And while my journey wasn't over, I was determined to face it head-on, with my head held high and my heart cautiously open. I understood now that the only way forward was to embrace the struggle and allow myself to heal, one rep at a time. As the weeks progressed, I found myself navigating a delicate balance between healing and rebuilding my relationship with Emily. Each day brought its own challenges. I was committed to my workouts, but I was also trying to be more mindful of Emily's efforts to reconnect. She was trying hard, bringing me coffee in the morning, planning healthy dinners, and showing genuine interest in my workouts, yet I still felt a lingering wariness in the back of my mind. Emily started joining me during some of my gym sessions. At first, it felt awkward. I was in my zone, pushing myself to my limits, and having her there shifted the dynamic. I could sense her watching me, and I hated that her gaze sometimes felt like a reminder of what had happened. But there were also moments where we laughed together, reminiscing about the fun we used to have before everything fell apart. One evening, after a particularly intense workout, I noticed her sitting on the bench, watching me with a smile. I completed my last set and walked over, wiping the sweat from my brow. "You look like you're having fun," I said, pretending to be light-hearted. "I am. I can see why you've been so committed. It's exhilarating," she replied, her eyes sparkling with an energy that reminded me of the Emily I fell in love with. "Yeah, it's a great stress reliever," I admitted, feeling a glimmer of warmth in my chest. After cleaning up, we spent the evening cooking dinner together. We chopped vegetables, seasoned fish, and shared jokes, creating a sense of normalcy that I had desperately missed. For a brief moment, I felt like we were back in sync. But just as easily as that warmth returned, it was overshadowed by the reminders of our past, her betrayal always lurking in the background. One night I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone when I stumbled onto a photo from a CrossFit competition Emily had entered before the affair. She looked radiant, full of joy, and surrounded by friends. I couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. The man standing next to her, her instructor, was all too familiar. The thought of that man being a part of her life made my stomach churn. I decided I needed to talk to her again. I didn't want to keep bottling up my feelings. "Emily," I said, turning to face her in the dim light, "can we talk about your instructor?" She turned to me, her expression shifting from drowsiness to concern. "What about him?" I can't shake the feeling that he's still a part of your life," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I know you say you're committed to us, but I need to know there's no contact." Her eyes widened and I could see the fear flicker across her face. "I promise I don't talk to him. I cut ties after everything happened. I didn't want to keep that part of my life. I'm focusing on us now." "I need to believe you," I replied, my throat tight, "but it's hard. I'm still grappling with what you did." "I understand," she said softly. "I'm sorry for every second of pain I caused you. It was a mistake and I've been paying for it every day since. I hate that I hurt you." I nodded, but the weight of uncertainty still lingered. I wanted to trust her. I yearned for that connection again, but it felt like a fragile thread I was afraid to pull on too hard. "Let's take it one day at a time," I suggested. "I want us to work, but I need you to be honest with me always." She nodded earnestly, and we both fell into a heavy silence, the gravity of our conversation hanging in the air. The following day, I went for my morning workout, pushing myself harder than ever. I needed to channel the frustration and confusion I felt. I cranked up my music and lost myself in the rhythm of the weights, letting every rep fuel my determination. As the sweat dripped from my brow, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I was reclaiming my life, my body, and my choices. I had become stronger, but I realized that strength wasn't just about physicality. It was also about emotional resilience. After my session, I got a call from Jake. He wanted to meet up again, and this time he suggested bringing along some mutual friends for a game night. I hesitated, wondering if I should include Emily in that plan. But then I realized I needed a break from our reality, even just for a few hours. When I told Emily about the game night, her expression shifted from excitement to concern. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" she asked, her tone laced with uncertainty. "Why wouldn't it be?" I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "I need to hang out with friends and it'll be fun. It's not about you or me, it's just a chance to unwind." She forced a smile, but I could see the unease in her eyes. "Okay, just have fun, and don't drink too much." I chuckled lightly, trying to ease the tension. "I'll be the responsible one, I promise." The night of the gathering arrived, and I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. It was good to reconnect with friends who knew nothing of my struggles, who could remind me of the life I'd had before everything went awry. As I walked into Jake's apartment, the familiar buzz of laughter and chatter enveloped me. I felt a warmth that had been missing for so long. We played games, reminisced about college antics, and shared countless laughs. For those few hours, I didn't think about Emily or the past. I was just enjoying being present. But as the night wore on and the drinks flowed, a sense of guilt crept in. I didn't want to betray Emily by enjoying myself too much. It felt like a betrayal of my commitment to her, even though I knew I was just trying to reclaim a part of my life. When I finally stumbled back home, I was a little tipsy, but mostly just happy to have had a night of laughter. Emily was still awake, waiting for me. "How was it?" she asked, her voice laced with curiosity. "Great, we had a lot of fun," I replied, feeling a twinge of guilt creep in. It was good to reconnect with everyone. Her smile was genuine, but there was an underlying tension in the air. "I'm glad. You deserve to have fun." We sat on the couch together, the distance between us palpable. I could feel the unasked questions lingering. Did she worry I was moving on? Did she fear I was enjoying life without her? "Do you think it's okay for us to have our individual spaces?" I asked, wanting to ease her mind. "I mean, I want to grow, and I hope you do too." She leaned in closer, her eyes searching mine. "I think it's essential. We need to find ourselves again, together and apart. I just don't want to lose you." "You won't," I assured her, my voice firm. "We'll figure this out one step at a time, I promise." As we settled in for the night, I felt a renewed sense of hope. Despite the uncertainty, I knew I was working on rebuilding myself, both physically and emotionally. And while the road ahead was still rocky, I was prepared to walk it, side by side with Emily or alone if necessary. I had transformed into a version of myself I hadn't known was possible, and I was ready to face whatever came next. The journey of healing wasn't just about Emily's betrayal. It was also about my own transformation. And finally, I felt like I was gaining clarity on what I truly wanted. As the weeks continued to unfold, I felt the weight of our situation slowly lifting. Emily and I were still navigating the treacherous waters of rebuilding our relationship, but I was beginning to see glimmers of hope. Our conversations had become more open, and I could see her sincerity in wanting to make amends. It was a slow process, but I was cautiously optimistic. Emily had been putting in the effort. She scheduled weekly therapy sessions for herself, and I could see the impact it was having on her mindset. She was more reflective, more willing to listen to my feelings. Without becoming defensive, we had started to establish a routine, one that included both our workouts and moments of vulnerability. One evening, after an intense workout, we decided to try a cooking class together. It felt like a step forward, a way to bond over something new. As we chopped vegetables and followed the instructor's guidance, I felt the tension between us dissipating. We laughed, shared jokes, and for the first time in a long time, it felt like we were rediscovering each other. But as much as I felt encouraged, I couldn't shake the anxiety of Emily's past. I still experienced moments of insecurity, anxiety creeping in during late-night conversations or when she received a text. I had become hyper-aware of my surroundings, constantly analyzing her reactions. It was exhausting. One night, as we were getting ready for bed, I noticed her phone buzzing on the nightstand. She picked it up, glancing at it before putting it back down without responding. My heart raced. It was a familiar feeling, the one I had tried to shake off, but there I was, feeling that knot in my stomach tighten. "Who was it?" I asked, my voice steady, but I couldn't hide the edge of anxiety creeping in. "It was just a friend from the gym. We were talking about the workout schedule," she replied, her tone casual. "Okay," I said, but I could feel the tension building. "It just feels different now, you know. I'm not trying to be controlling, but it's hard for me to shake off what happened." She turned to me, her expression softening. "I understand. I want you to know that my past is behind me. I'm committed to being transparent with you. You deserve that, and I'm here to earn your trust back." That was the moment it hit me. Trust wasn't something that could be easily rebuilt. It took time, and I had to allow myself to be vulnerable even as I felt hesitant. I took a deep breath, letting out the frustration I had been holding onto. "I know it won't happen overnight, and I'm trying to work through it. I just want us to be honest with each other." The conversation lingered in the air, but there was a sense of resolution. We were both on paths toward healing, and while the journey was far from over, we had made progress. A few days later, when I went to the gym, I noticed a flyer for a couples workout challenge. It was just the kind of thing we needed, a fun way to bond and build trust while pushing ourselves physically. I rushed home that evening and excitedly presented the idea to Emily. "Let's do this together. It could be a great way to reconnect," I suggested, feeling a rush of adrenaline at the thought of us working side by side. She smiled, a genuine brightness lighting up her features. "I love that idea. It's time to show each other just how strong we are, both individually and as a team." As we signed up for the challenge, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. It was a commitment not only to ourselves but also to our relationship. Each day of the challenge brought new struggles, but it also brought us closer together. We discovered how to lean on each other, to communicate effectively, and to support one another through the grueling workouts. The final day of the challenge arrived, and as we stood on the field, surrounded by other couples, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride. We had pushed through our limits both physically and emotionally. As we finished the last set of exercises together, I looked over at Emily and she beamed back at me. "See, we did it," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with joy. As we caught our breath, I found myself reflecting on how far we had come. The journey had been challenging, but it had also opened my eyes to the importance of growth, not just individually but as a couple. Later that evening, as we celebrated with dinner, I felt a shift in our dynamic. We were no longer just navigating the past, we were actively building a future. We talked openly about our feelings, our hopes, and the lessons we had learned along the way. "I realized something today," I said, looking deep into her eyes. "Every rep we pushed through during that challenge mirrored our journey. We faced tough moments, but we came out stronger on the other side." Emily nodded, her expression serious yet hopeful. "I'm grateful you gave me a chance to earn your trust back. I know I have a long way to go, but I'm committed to this. I want us to grow together." "I want that too," I replied, my voice steady. "I want us to be stronger than ever, but we need to keep communicating, keep working on ourselves and on us." As we clinked our glasses together in a toast, I felt a warmth spread through me. I had transformed my body, my heart, my mindset. I had found strength in vulnerability, in being open about my feelings, and in allowing myself to trust again. The road ahead wasn't guaranteed to be smooth, but I was more equipped to face the challenges. I recognized that rebuilding trust took time, effort, and a commitment from both sides. As I reflected on our journey, I felt a sense of closure surrounding the pain of betrayal. I was no longer defined by that moment. Instead, I was defined by how we chose to grow from it. And with each passing day, I knew we were writing a new chapter together, one filled with hope, strength, and love. We had emerged from the storm, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next, side by side with the woman who had once broken my heart but was now working tirelessly to mend it. Together, we would forge a path into the future, stronger than ever.